It's the nuts and bolts of Monday Night Raw. Let me tell you something, brothers. I'm not going to get too hyped up because I get 1, blown up, 2, it's late. We just got done with 3 hours of WWE's flagship program, Monday Night Raw. And I'm getting a little bit tired. It's a long show, so let's get right into the action. And this is about the July 31st Monday Night Raw, and it took place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's right, home to many of the WWE superstars. That's right, it's their hometown. So what's going to happen tonight? Well, for starters, we had right out of the chute Kurt Angle. That's right, the Raw GM Kurt Angle comes out, and he talks about everything that's been going on in his life lately, which is, let's face it, a lot. And who comes out next? None other than the Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar. And of course, Paul Heyman's in tow. What did they have to talk about? Well, Heyman, in of course only Heyman style, talks about each of Brock Lesnar's opponents in the Fatal 4-Way coming up at SummerSlam, and they are none too happy, and they're reading Kurt Angle the riot act, saying, how can you put Brock Lesnar in this Fatal 4-Way situation? You know what else they said? They said if Brock Lesnar doesn't leave SummerSlam still the Universal Champion, he's going to leave. Well, this is really going to get people guessing because, as you probably heard over the weekend, there was a lot of news between John Jones, MMA fighter, bantering back and forth through social media with none other than Brock Lesnar. He's calling him out. Is Brock Lesnar going to return to the UFC? I hope not. That's not a great move for him. On one hand, although he's a Universal Champion, he's gone a lot. He's rarely there, but I'm okay with that. It makes him that much more important. He's a big attraction. Think back to the golden days of the 80s when Hulk Hogan was a champion. You didn't see him all the time on television, and there was significantly less television in general back then. And it was special. It was special when you would see the Hulkster. It's no different than Brock Lesnar now. I don't mind him not being there every day. It makes him an attraction. With professional wrestling, let's face it, the market is oversaturated. So it's nice to see someone like Brock Lesnar only on occasion. It really makes him a big attraction. On the other hand, if he goes to UFC, does he still have it in him? I don't think so. Let's face it. Hey, I'm not going to mess with this guy, but he is 40 years old. And speaking from experience, when you hit 40, you slow down, you get tired. You might still look good, but that doesn't mean you can go like you once did. And if Jones is a lot younger than Brock Lesnar, I don't think that's a good move for Brock Lesnar. What does he have left to prove at 40 years old? I would rather see him stay in the WWE. Maybe he just needs a break. A break from what? He hasn't been around much. Interesting to see where we go from here. Up next, we have a matchup between the Hardy Boys versus Gallows and Anderson, with the Revival on commentary. Now, the Hardy Boys got a victory here, which lends to the fact is what's going on with Gallows and Anderson. These guys were big signings from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and let's face it, since they've gotten to the WWE really hasn't had much direction for these guys, and these guys are a phenomenal tag team. Enough calling people nerds. I want to see them be the rough, tough, tumble tag team they are. Now, is there other tag teams like that? Yes, the tag team champions, Sheamus and Cesaro. They're that gritty tag team. But don't forget the new kids on the block, the Revival, who were commentating during this match. Now, after the Hardys win, they come up to the stage, and the Revival's right there looking at them. And I'm thinking, don't just have this verbal joust. I mean, the Revival that I know, they would attack them instantly. They're not going to sit here and have this verbal debate, and luckily, that's exactly what I got. Face-to-face confrontation that turned to fisticuffs. But then comes Gallows and Anderson. Here's what I didn't like. You had the team of both Gallows and Anderson and the Revival beating on the Hardy Boys. And the Hardy Boys still came out on top. They beat down 4 guys and left standing on top. They definitely have the veteran experience advantage. But let's face it, these guys are not as young as they once were. What's going on? How could they beat down these 4 guys? Interesting to see where this is going. I am happy to say that Tag Team Wrestling on Monday Night Raw has been getting a push towards the forefront. That's good to see. After that, we saw a 6-man 205 Live divisional matchup in which Akira Tozawa, Cedric Alexander, and Rich Swann were victorious. Now, the big thing to note in this was, of course, Tozawa is part of the Titus Worldwide brand, and they're setting up this matchup for 205 Live versus Arian Daivari, and the winner of that matchup between Tozawa and Daivari is going to face Neville at SummerSlam. Who do you want to be at SummerSlam? Well, we're definitely going to get Neville, so that's a good thing. I got to go with Tozawa. There's something about this guy. Ha! 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 It's not that. Maybe it's the Titus brand. I don't know. I want to see this matchup, and it's going to happen at SummerSlam. Where on the SummerSlam card? It might be a dark match or a pre-show, as they call it nowadays. Time will tell. Either way, it's good for them to be involved. Up next, we have the Miztourage featuring, that's right, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel, both with a long lineage in professional wrestling. I love what the Miztourage is doing with these guys. You combine those two in the great attire, the great dress, join with the Miz, who is aces all the way. Love this guy. You hear me talk about him each week. I love the Miztourage. And they're out there because it's Miz TV. And guess who their guest is? None other than Kurt Angle's illegitimate son, Jason Jordan. And Jason Jordan, who dressed this guy? Have you ever seen a more random collection of clothing on one individual? They say I dress crazy. Not to say that now is one of those times. I ain't got time to bleed. Anyways, Jason Jordan, he's wearing, brown shoes, I think, jeans, and then a sports jacket and a white t-shirt. It was a very odd ramsack collection of clothing, in my opinion. Now, they are really presenting Jason Jordan in an odd way, and I'm going to tell you why. The crowd, they feel like they don't want to get behind Jason Jordan. Is it because of this revelation? I think it's more about that special interview they did with Renee Young and Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan. Something seemed a little bit odd. Jason Jordan seems a little bit too squeaky clean. And so the WWE Universe is pretty smart. And they're thinking, you know what, I think I'm going to have a reason not to like this guy eventually, so I'm just going to start now. So he's getting some boos already. But the WWE is presenting him like this white meat babyface. And guess what? He's on Miz TV getting into an altercation with The Miz, Intercontinental Champion. Does this remind you of something? Think back about 20 years. Another white meat babyface named Rocky Maivia was presented in the same fashion as he was going after the Intercontinental Champion at the time, who was what? The Sultan, maybe? I'm not sure. And what happened? They wanted this guy to be this great hero, and the crowd, boo, they did not like it We do not like to be force-fed things in that nature. Now maybe they're doing that on purpose for that exact reason, because they know where it's going to lead, and Jason Jordan could turn into the red hot heel, if you will, just a rotten, no good son of a gun. But time is going to tell. We'll have to wait and see from here. From here, we have Sheamus taking on salty Seth Rollins. Salty Seth Rollins. And I say salty because earlier in the night, he's walking around upset because he cannot convince Dean Ambrose to just trust him and reform the Shield. Dean Ambrose is not buying it. He's walking around with eyes in the back of his head. He does not want to give his trust back to Seth Rollins because of their past. So salty Seth is walking around, and of course he runs into the tag team champions Cesaro and Sheamus, and they have a verbal altercation that leads to this matchup. Now, the WWE Universe is going banana over Seth Rollins' theme song. What am I talking about? He's coming down to the ring when all of a sudden, ah! Some crazy yell comes across right in the middle of Seth Rollins' theme song. Was this really necessary to add in this sound to his theme song? What do you think? Do you like Seth Rollins' new version of his theme song? I no sooner heard it did I text some people from Seth Rollins' past, some people that helped him early on in his career. I'm not going to divulge those names right now, but they did not want to say an opinion on it, but I'm okay to say the opinion. It's crazy. You might say it's brutal. Be brutal. Take that out. Go back to his regular theme song. Anyways, Seth Rollins pulls out a victory in this matchup, and then the tag team champions are very upset by this, so they start beating down Seth Rollins. Then, of course, who comes out to save the day? Dean Ambrose. This is what scares me about this situation. Now, as I talked about last week, I wouldn't mind a Shield reunion because I think it'd be good for Dean Ambrose. I think it'd be good for Seth Rollins right now. I think their careers need that right now. What I don't want to see is a tag team title reign for Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Please, WWE, do not make that match happen. Get on the phone with Kurt Angle, say, nada, no way. Don't let that happen. This is why. Finally, Cesaro and Sheamus have gelled. They have finally formed a really solid tag team. Heck, they're the tag team champions of Raw. They look like a tag team. They act like a tag team. They're wearing the straps. They don't need to lose the tag team titles to the likes of Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. That's not a knock on Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, but let's face it, these guys are not going to be a regular tag team. They might form a faction, maybe, but I don't want to see Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose win the tag team titles just to inevitably go awry, as their egos maybe get in the way and they turn on each other or one or the other, and then the tag team title situation is a mess again. We're just getting some tag team wrestling back on Monday Night Raw. Don't mess it up by putting these two single guys into this program with the tag team champions. So I'm hoping this was just a one and done kind of night and we don't see that in the future. Time's gonna tell. From here, we had Bray Wyatt out in the ring talking craziness. Let's face it, this guy is good on the microphone, but he's talking craziness. And did someone throw a banana peel in the ring? Because all of a sudden he flopped right over and he was on the side. This guy's a little bit of this, if you know what I mean. Anyways, he is calling out Finn Balor, and he got his wish, and it turned into Bray versus Finn's collar. Just kidding. Finn Balor kicked Bray Wyatt right down, and we turned into a little brawl on the outside of the ring. Finn's collar did not get in the way of him beating on Bray Wyatt. Hey, I wasn't completely sold on this matchup when they first started having issues, but good job, guys. You've drawn me in. I want to see what happens when these guys face each other. And one can only assume it's going to take place between Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor at SummerSlam. And speaking of Finn Balor, you know what we haven't seen in a long time? The Demon King Finn Balor. SummerSlam might just be the place for that. But you know what? I don't need to see that version of Finn Balor all the time. Just like I mentioned earlier with Brock Lesnar, I like to keep it special. Let's do it on a rare occasion. And what better than the biggest event of the summer, SummerSlam. Is SummerSlam huge or what? And it always has been. Remember when there was only 4 big WWF pay-per-views a year? One of them was SummerSlam. Can you believe it? Some of you might be too young to remember that. Can you believe that? That's right. It used to be SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania. And that was it. And you know what? I was okay with that. They were that much more special. Me and my friends would get together and we'd pool all of our money together. It would be like $30, $40. That's a lot of money when you're a kid. And we'd all chip in and we'd have this big party. And I remember just about every match from all those old SummerSlams, etc., 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 etc. Guess what, guys? As we neared the end of the second hour of Raw, we have the big matchup already. I look at the clock and we got the 3-way as announced last week happening already. Samoa Joe, the Destroyer, Samoa Joe versus the Monster Among Men, Big Braun Strowman versus 3-way dance, the big dog in the yard, Roman Reigns. I could not believe how early in the night this match was. Why wouldn't they save that for the end of Monday Night Raw? What kind of message are they sending? You tell me, what message are they sending by putting that big matchup before the end of the second hour of a 3-hour Raw? Is there a method to their madness? Maybe they just want to give those guys a chance to get out of there early. Who knows? What do you think? Hey guys, speaking of what do you think, there are some good ways to give us some feedback here on the One Wrestling YouTube page. First of all, if you like what's going on here, click like, click subscribe. That way you know every time One Wrestling puts up another video on our YouTube channel. And there's some great shows. Tuesday night with Connor Fabe, Thursday night with Big Ray with your Global Impact Report. There's a ton of other stuff on there. Hey, you get to see me again on Wednesdays for the NXT review show. That's right, we are everywhere. There's all kinds of stuff on there. Anyways, click subscribe, leave your comments down below in the comment section. You don't want to do the YouTube thing? That's okay. Hit us up on Twitter at One Wrestling. And as you can see below, I'm at Travis Voeltz. We love to hear from you. Give us your thoughts. Give us your feedback. We want to hear from you. As I was saying, we got this big 3-way matchup. What is going on? Why is this happening on free television? What is happening with me? Why do I keep saying that? We get matches like this all the time in this day and age on free television. Hey, that's great for the consumer, or is it? What happens at the pay-per-views? Heck, they're not even pay-per-views anymore. They're special events on the WWE Network. Boy, the business has changed, hasn't it? This is 3 quarters. Math. 2 plus 2 is 5. Okay, there's 3 of the guys, of the 4 guys, that are going to be in the SummerSlam main event. And 3 of them are right here tonight on Monday Night Raw. What the heck? I guess we don't have to wait to see the likes of Braun Strowman versus Samoa Joe and all the interchangeable parts between those 3 guys. Well, guess what? Roman Reigns, the big dog in the air, does it again. Picks up the victory over Samoa Joe. Match, it could have been a lot more. Obviously, they're probably going to go a little bit harder. Maybe they're saving themselves for SummerSlam. Anyways, when we put 3 guys like that in the ring, I expect something a little bit more. But on tonight's night, it was Roman Reigns, and you could see it in his face. This guy was into this match. He was feeling it. I think the commentators, who was it? Was it Corey Graves or Michael Cole? Somebody really mentioned the fact that, boy, Roman Reigns is feeling it, and you could see it. You could see the adrenaline pumping through his veins, brother. Oh, yeah, baby. From here, we're backstage. We see the Big Show doing push-ups. Why am I mentioning that? Because, hey, when was the last time you did a push-up? They're not easy. And think of the Big Show and the size of the Big Show back there doing push-ups. Has this guy got himself in tremendous shape? He ain't no spring chicken either. Congratulations, kudos to the Big Show. Keep it up. You're an inspiration. I hope, well, okay, I'm never going to be your size, but boy, I got to get back into the push-ups too, brother. We got to hang and bang, brother. I'm getting blown up just talking about it. Anyways, I got to get back in shape. I got to look like the total package Lex Luger back here, huh? Heck, I would take Rick Steiner at this point. All right. Anyways, from here, who wants to walk with Elias? Let me find out. You know, Elias. Elias Sampson is in the ring, and he is upsetting his own, very own hometown crowd. Can you believe it? I love this guy. This guy is money. Love to hate him, that is. Anyways, he gets a victory over Kalisto. Hey, did anyone else, when they heard Kalisto's entrance theme music hit, before they showed him, think, who the heck is this coming out? I got excited because the song was very similar to the late, great Owen Hart. But, no knock on Kalisto, but it wasn't Owen Hart. Anyways, Kalisto goes down to Elias Sampson, who continues to win. Speaking of theme songs, let's talk about that in a minute. First, we had a women's match between Nia Jax versus the resurging Bayley. And this match just gets kind of wonky at the end because in comes Little Miss Bliss, the women's champion, to interfere in the match and kind of beat on Bayley, of course, because, of course, we're heading towards SummerSlam between that big match between Bayley and Alexa Bliss. Hey, during the commercials, I was surfing social media, and there was rumor or talk of a ghost Bayley. No, sorry, excuse me, a ghost Sasha Banks backstage, and there was some odd footage, and Sasha Banks looked really weird. I also saw something on social media that there was reports that maybe it wasn't Sasha Banks back there, but Paige. Could you imagine Paige? I don't want to talk too much about Paige because that's going to make me think of Alberto El Patron, and that is Big Ray's territory on Global Force Wrestling. And go check him out on Thursday's Global Impact show. He does a tremendous job, and I tell you what, Global is making waves. Enough of that. This is Monday Night Raw. Our last match of the night starts out with Enzo, of course, out there doing what he does best, talking. That is what Enzo does best, so he should keep doing it, and that seems to be what he's going to keep doing, talking. Luckily, he has his big friend, his new big friend, the Big Show, to back him up, as the Big Show takes on none other than Enzo's former best friend, Big Cass. I mentioned theme songs earlier. I'm going to talk about them again. What did you notice about Big Cass theme song? Sounded awfully familiar, didn't it? Who else thought, boy, is that the Cult of Personality? I did a double take thing. Don't even tell me that CM Punk's coming out right now. Could you imagine CM Punk coming back? Would you like to see it? I'm going to withhold my opinion on CM Punk right now. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. Anyways, it wasn't CM Punk. It was Big Cass debuting a new theme song. Must have been theme song night because we had all these theme song changes tonight. That was the yell on Seth Rollins one. I'm sorry. I popped myself, brother. Whew. Anyways, Big Cass picks up the victory because of Enzo's interference. Where are we going with this one? Let's face it, we've seen Enzo in the ring with Big Cass already. That's okay. I like this. I like that Big Show's getting some play. This guy's definitely got himself in shape. Remember the push-ups? It's good to see him in this role. He's good at it. It's a good dynamic with Enzo doing this part and Big Cass doing this part with the big boot. So it'll be interesting to see. It's also interesting to see that Big Cass, again, is closing out the show. WWE really seems to have big plans for this guy, putting him in these main event time slots. Heck, we had Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, and Braun Strowman earlier in the night, and Big Cass was on last. Do you agree with that decision? Let us know. Comment section, Twitter. Whew, guys, I may not have time to bleed, as the shirt says, but I do got time to sleep. I'm tired, brothers. I'm blown up. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up earlier. I'm going to hang and bang down on Venice Beach, brother. But until then, thanks for joining me, Old T Voeltz, on the Nuts and Bolts of Monday Night Raw.